Imagine you're driving alone at midnight. The highway is empty, your headlights cutting through the desert darkness. Suddenly, you see a lone figure walking on the shoulder of Route 66. He lifts his hand, asking for a ride. But when you open the door, the seat beside you stays empty. Who was he? A ghost? Or a warning? Tonight, this haunted hitchhiker will teach us why fear itself is the road to growth. They call it the Mother Road. Route 66. Once the artery of America, carrying dreamers, workers, and wanderers from Chicago to Santa Monica. 8 states. Thousands of miles. Neon signs, roadside diners, motels buzzing with life. But today, parts of Route 66 are silent. Forgotten. A road where memories linger like ghosts. It was on such a stretch of cracked asphalt, late at night, that the story begins. The driver, let's call him Daniel, was restless. His life felt stuck, a dead-end job, a broken relationship, and a gnawing emptiness he couldn't shake. He decided to drive. No destination, just the open road, hoping the endless miles might somehow clear his head. The night was thick with desert silence. The sky stretched endlessly, sprinkled with stars, and the hum of tires on pavement was the only sound. Every few miles, he'd pass the skeleton of an old gas station, or a faded billboard that once promised travelers cheap rooms and hot meals. Daniel turned up the radio, but the static only deepened the loneliness. The road seemed to breathe, alive with its own pulse. And then, he saw it. A figure. Far ahead, illuminated in the beams of his headlights, stood a lone hitchhiker. At first, Daniel thought it was his imagination. But no, the figure didn't vanish. It moved. Slowly. Deliberately. Thumb out. Face hidden under the brim of a hat. Clothes pale, almost gray. A chill ran down Daniel's spine. He gripped the wheel tighter. The open road had just become something else. Something darker. As Daniel approached, his mind raced. Who hitchhikes here? At this hour? The figure stood tall, motionless, almost too still. The desert wind shifted, and Daniel swore the temperature in the car dropped. His headlights revealed more. Torn jeans. A worn jacket. Skin pale as moonlight. The hitchhiker lifted his head slightly, but Daniel couldn't see his eyes, just shadow. Every instinct screamed, "Don't stop." But Daniel slowed down. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was guilt. Or maybe, deep down, Daniel wanted to face something scarier than his own life for once. He pulled over. The car idled, headlights burning into the endless highway. The figure stepped closer, movements unnervingly smooth. Without a word, the hitchhiker opened the passenger door and slid in. The air grew heavy. Cold. Daniel's breath fogged on the windshield. "Where you headed?" Daniel asked, his voice breaking the silence. The hitchhiker didn't answer, just stared ahead. Daniel's heart pounded. He tried again, forcing a chuckle. "Well, plenty of road between here and California." Still silence. The car engine strained, like it too felt the weight of the passenger. And then, out of the corner of his eye, Daniel caught it. In the reflection of the side mirror, the seat was empty. His blood ran cold. He turned his head. The hitchhiker was gone. Daniel slammed the brakes. Tires screeched, echoing across the barren landscape. He spun around in panic. The seat beside him was empty. The door was still shut. He sat there, trembling, staring at nothing. Did I imagine it? His pulse hammered in his ears. Then, faintly, in the rearview mirror, he saw movement. The hitchhiker, sitting in the back seat. Daniel's mouth went dry. He couldn't move. Couldn't speak. The figure's face was clearer now. Skin too pale, lips slightly blue, like someone pulled from icy water. His eyes, dark hollows. And then, he spoke. "Keep driving." Daniel's hands gripped the wheel, trembling. The voice wasn't angry. It wasn't pleading. It was empty, like the echo of something that once was alive. He pressed the gas. The car rolled forward, headlights cutting through the desert blackness. Every few miles, the road offered glimpses of the past. Rusting cars, shuttered motels, neon signs that buzzed faintly before fading into darkness. And as they passed, the hitchhiker began to whisper. Stories. Of crashes. Of wanderers who never made it home. Of families who packed everything into their cars, chasing the American dream, only to be stranded, broken, lost. Daniel realized this ghost wasn't just a passenger. He was the voice of Route 66 itself. And in that haunted voice there was a lesson. The past always rides with us, until we face it. The road stretched on, empty, endless. They passed through a small town, or what was left of it. Windows boarded up. Gas pumps rusted. A diner sign flickered faintly. Open 24 hours, a lie frozen in time. The hitchhiker's voice cut through the silence. Once, this town was alive. Travelers filled these streets. Children played in the dust. But the highway moved. The people left. Dreams. Abandoned. Daniel shivered. He could almost see it. The neon glow, the jukebox songs, the smell of coffee and fried eggs drifting through the air. A world that was now a grave. Another town. Another ruin. A motel with its sign half broken. Vacancy. The hitchhiker whispered again. So many believed the road would save them. But the road forgets. Daniel felt his chest tighten. The ghost wasn't just telling stories. He was showing him something. That life, like Route 66, had places that thrived once but died when forgotten. Dreams withered. Hopes abandoned. Lives left in the dust. And in that moment, Daniel understood, ignoring history, our own history, is the same as burying wisdom. Fear wasn't in the ghost towns. Fear was in forgetting what they meant. The sky shifted. Clouds gathered above the desert, swallowing the stars. Lightning flashed, illuminating the road in stark white. Thunder rolled across the plains. A storm was coming. Daniel's hands tightened on the wheel. Rain splattered across the windshield, heavy and sudden. The wipers struggled, squeaking back and forth. Visibility dropped. And then, he realized. The hitchhiker was gone. The seat was empty again. But outside in the storm, through sheets of rain, Daniel glimpsed him. Walking on the side of the road. The same pale figure, thumb out, head low. Another flash of lightning. This time, he was in front of the car. Daniel slammed the brakes, heart hammering. The car skidded, tires hissing on wet asphalt. When the world stilled, the road ahead was empty. He sat frozen, chest heaving, when a scream tore through the wind. Not outside. Inside. From the very air around him. The storm roared, shaking the car. The hitchhiker appeared again, this time beside the window, face pressed against the glass. His hollow eyes stared straight into Daniel's soul. And then, just as suddenly was gone, Daniel's body trembled. But through the terror, something deeper stirred. The storm was a test. Chaos. Fear. A violent reminder that the only way through was forward. And in that moment, Daniel realized, growth doesn't come by avoiding storms. It comes by surviving them. The storm raged, but inside the car Daniel felt a sudden silence. The air grew heavy still. He turned slowly, and the hitchhiker was there again, sitting in the passenger seat, dripping wet, water pooling at his feet. This time he spoke. I was like you once. Driving this road, chasing something I couldn't name. Dreams too big, courage too small. And one night, the road took me. Daniel's chest tightened. He didn't dare look away. The hitchhiker's eyes glowed faintly, not with fire, but with memory. It was the 1970s. Gas was cheap, the road alive. I was young, restless, thought I could outrun my fears. But fear always rides shotgun. I fell asleep at the wheel. A bend I never saw coming. The car flipped. And I never left this highway. The rain thudded against the car roof. Daniel swallowed hard, every muscle trembling. The ghost's voice softened. That's why I wait. Not for rides. For someone who listens. Someone who understands. Daniel felt goosebumps rise along his arms. This wasn't just a spirit of the road. It was a man, broken, lost, trapped. The message was clear. Fears unspoken will haunt us forever. The hitchhiker leaned forward, pointing through the rain. Pull over. Daniel's heart pounded, but he obeyed. The tires crunched gravel as the car rolled onto the shoulder. Lightning illuminated the desert brush, and there, just off the road, stood a small memorial. A cross, weather-beaten, surrounded by wilted flowers, rusted soda cans, a faded photograph of a young man smiling, trapped forever in the glass of a broken frame. Daniel stepped out into the rain, clothes instantly soaked. He approached the grave, breath shaking. He could feel it, the weight of sorrow of unfinished journeys. The hitchhiker's voice echoed behind him. That was me. Daniel's throat tightened. The ghost stood near the cross, no longer terrifying, just tragic. All I wanted was to keep driving, to reach the coast, to make something of myself. But my fear kept whispering. I drove faster, harder, until the road won. The wind howled, bending the grass around the memorial. Daniel knelt, touched the damp photograph and whispered, I hear you. And in that moment, the fear that had chased him for years, his failures, his regrets, his broken heart, felt smaller. Because here was proof. Fear could kill if left unchallenged. This roadside grave was more than a memorial. It was a reminder. Fear reminds us we're mortal, but it also pushes us to live fully. Back inside the car, the ghost turned to Daniel. His hollow eyes no longer cold, but searching. You've heard my story. Now I ask, will you carry it forward? Daniel's pulse raced. The question wasn't simple. It was a test. To say yes meant he would embrace the ghost's memory, let it live within him, walk with his fear instead of fleeing from it. To say no meant the spirit would remain, forever hitchhiking, forever haunting. The car was silent, the storm easing, a strange calm filling the space. Daniel whispered, yes, I'll carry it. The hitchhiker leaned back, shadows shifting across his face. Then remember, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to drive with it beside you. A shiver ran through Daniel, but not from cold. It was from understanding. In that instant, the ghost smiled faintly, sad but free. For the first time, Daniel felt the road lighten beneath the tires. The night faded. Slowly, the storm broke apart, leaving streaks of pale light on the horizon. Daniel drove on, exhaustion mixing with a strange peace. The desert glowed with the first hints of dawn, red and gold spilling across the sky. He glanced to the passenger seat. Empty. The hitchhiker was gone. But this time, Daniel didn't feel fear. He felt gratitude. The miles rolled by. The town still stood in ruins, the motel still abandoned, but they didn't seem as dead. They felt like lessons written into the landscape. Every ghost town, every broken sign, every fading mural. It was all a reminder that nothing lasts forever. That life itself is a journey, fragile and fleeting. And fear. Fear was just a shadow along the way. Daniel breathed deeply, shoulders lighter. He wasn't driving to escape anymore. He was driving to learn, to face what lay ahead. The dawn had come, not just to the desert, but to his own soul. Route 66 stretched endlessly, shimmering in the morning light. Daniel felt the road hum beneath the wheels, alive, ancient, and wise. He thought of the hitchhiker, the pale face, the hollow eyes, the story of a life cut short. But instead of terror, he felt connection. The ghost wasn't a curse. He was a teacher, a guide. Daniel spoke aloud, though no one was there. I'll remember you. I'll carry you. And with those words, something shifted. The road didn't feel haunted anymore. It felt holy, sacred, a place where the living and the lost shared lessons in whispers and echoes. He realized then, every traveler carries fears. Some are small, failure, rejection, loss. Some are enormous. Dreams abandoned, lives unfinished. But those fears are not chains. They are signposts. They point the way forward, if only we have the courage to keep driving. As the sun rose higher, Daniel smiled. He had faced fear. And in doing so, he had found growth. The closing thought echoed like the final line of a sermon. The road teaches us, fear is just a mile marker on the way to growth.